Hey everyone, welcome back. I am here with Rue and we are recharging our batteries because we have been in town all day at Harvest Fest. It was such an amazing event and I can't wait to tell you what I was up to. I met some really amazing people, but first I need to show you what I picked up. Look what I picked up. They were giving away like free plants. I think like 3,000 plants were actually given away throughout the whole weekend, which I thought was so cool. So I picked up a load of herbs for free, and I know I grow most things from seed myself, but who can resist a free plant? I mean, I suppose they're not entirely free because there was like an honesty box system in place. So I did make a donation for everything that I did pick up, and I'm really pleased to obviously be supporting a local event that was really, really well organised. So we spent a few hours in town looking around, all the things that were going on. So there were some amazing stalls from like food to craft to vegetable producers, and I got the absolute pleasure of meeting Brian McCarthy from the Cork Rooftop Farm, and I was so thrilled to actually see them in Waterford because had been planning to actually go up there to their shop. I used to live in Cork. I think it's an amazing city, so like I really do miss living there, and I was so thrilled to actually meet him. We had a great conversation and his produce looked absolutely amazing. Him and his friend that set up the business come from really, really humble beginnings back in 2020, and they basically converted the roof of a premises in Cork into a rooftop market garden to feed the people of Cork City. I think it's a really, really cool story. What they produce is amazing, so I was really happy to pick up a few bits. So if any of my Irish watchers out there are interested in the vegetables from Cork Rooftop Farm, I'll leave links to his website and his socials in the description. If you're interested, you can go and check those out. So I feel like the garden is in like limbo a little bit at the minute. So it's kind of quiet, it's kind of a waiting game, and other than the ginormous patty pan, it's kind of just waiting for everything to kind of produce before kind of autumn and winter really sets in. So I really feel like it's such a good idea to set up a herb planter and revamp a space in the garden. I did try herbs earlier in the year, and obviously some of them came down with a little bit of fungus pressure. So I think with the new plants that I was able to pick up at the Harvest Festival and a sunny spot in the garden, I think we can definitely give it a second try. And I feel like as well, like it's like, especially the planter that I'm going to be putting these into, this could even fit onto like even the smallest of balconies, right? So everybody can have a little miniature garden no matter where they are, and even just in a couple of pots on your windowsill. So I'm going to run through with you the few plants that I did pick up at the festival. So the whole theme was like concentrating on like sustainability and like reducing like single-use plastics, which is super cool. And these little bags are like 100% compostable, which is so cool. Look at that. Isn't that so cool? Like there's literally like no pot on that, and it's such a healthy looking plant. And they were actually grown up in Wicklow, so kind of local, a couple of hours drive, but obviously when you're producing 3,000 plants, obviously, you know, they need to come from somewhere. So yeah, super chuffed with that. They look really healthy, and obviously my rosemary has completely died, so I was thrilled to get my hands on something brand new that I can replace it with. I picked up some gorgeous oregano, and I was actually surprised by that because the leaves on the oregano look really, really big. And I didn't think oregano leaves were ever that big, because you know when you get them in the dried pots, they're a lot smaller, but look how big they are. I picked up some more parsley. Now, obviously I do have a load of parsley growing in the garden at the minute, but like you can never have enough. I think parsley is probably one of my favorite herbs. So obviously I was going to pick up more of that. Picked up some dill. Ooh. He looks a bit sad, but I think he'll be fine when I put him into the ground. So I've never actually grown dill before, but I do love to have salmon, so I feel like that'll be beautiful on a bagel with some cream cheese, fresh dill and a squeeze of lemon for a little like fancy breakfast on a Saturday. And the last thing that I picked up was some thyme. So I had a thyme plant from a friend there last year, but sadly it didn't come back after the winter. So I feel like these ones are a little bit more established, and I've picked up two just in case one dies. And yeah, they smell, it's unbelievable. I cannot wait to get outside and plant these up. So when I was chatting to Brian and like having a look around his stall, like I couldn't obviously help myself but pick up some vegetables from him. So like the fridge is loaded with vegetables because I also did a trip to my lady down at the CSA, so we have vegetables on the menu all week long. And the only thing I didn't actually pick up from him was any potatoes. Now his potatoes did look unbelievable, but I actually think I have a couple of pots of potatoes that I grew myself that could be ready if I flip them out with you guys today. So I'm going to flip out these potatoes. I don't know how well they're going to be like production wise. I only filled up the container to about here, and then the rest of the plant was kind of growing like this high, so I imagine there's only a very, very small amount of potatoes in here, but I think they're ready to harvest. Everything's dying back. I don't imagine there's much more growth going to come off of these with the pressure of the brown spot that they've got. So yeah, let's flip them out and see what we get. I'm just going to cut off the tops first, just so it makes it easier to flip them out, and then we'll see what's inside. Wish me luck. We have some potatoes. There's a few there. I think hopefully that's not an ant's nest. No, I think it's all good. But look at that, we have potatoes. That is so cool. I'm so happy. So let's break this open and see what else we get. So, loads of potatoes from that little bucket. I think most of them are in the bottom, but I've got loads here. So I'm just going to sift through and pick them all out. But not too bad. I'm super chuffed with that. These containers, as you can see, were really hard to keep watered. I felt like the rain would have been enough that we had in July. Look at that one. That's the biggest potato I ever grew. That's so cool. But yeah, I feel like the rain was enough in July, but I feel like it's probably just hit off the foliage and just dripped onto the floor rather than the container. So I am quite surprised with this potato harvest, if I'm completely honest, because I did think I'd probably get about 6 altogether. So I'm super, super, super chuffed with this. There's just loads. This is so much better than the other harvest we did earlier in the year when I thought I had the blight, but actually it was just brown spot. So if you have the brown spot, check back on my old videos. I have a dedicated video that shows the brown spot in real detail. But yeah, absolutely wonderful harvest. Look at that, guys. Not too bad. I'm quite happy with that. And then this is probably the biggest potato I've ever grown. But again, container is fairly dry. There's a few little ones in there which we'll fry up and throw into salads. But overall, I'm super chuffed with that harvest. Right, bucket number 2. Let's see what's in here. I'm feeling hopeful after that first bucket. Oh wow, I've got a few round here. It's a bit of a win, isn't it? Loads of potatoes. Only 2 seed potatoes in here, and they are all Sarpamira variety. That's the harvest for the potatoes. I've got 2 more buckets, but they've got a little bit of life left in them, so I'm going to leave those and harvest them in about 4 weeks maybe. I'm really, really pleased with the results from those potatoes. They are a Sarpamira variety, and considering I didn't look after them that well. They've done really, really well, and they've produced enough there for us to have a few dinners. I have 2 containers left which still have a little bit of life in them, so I'm going to harvest those maybe in about 4 weeks' time. So now my potatoes are done, I am going to move on to rejigging this flower bed because it's looking a bit tired. There's no more flowers really coming on it, except for the daisy that had its second flush, but they're all starting to die back now as well. So yeah, time to get this in tip-top shape, refresh it with the flowers that I got from Harvest Fest, and I think it will complement my nice little salad bed that's next to it, which is looking absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I'm going to pull all these out, put them up into little containers. Obviously I'll keep things like the salvia, and I will keep the lily bulbs, and I will try and find the anemone bulbs that are in here, and I will just pop them up. These are starting to turn brown now, these lilies, so they've had a good old energy soak from the sun, and I think it's time to cut them back. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to take out everything that's in this bed. It's looking tired, it needs a revamp, and I'm probably going to keep the chives in because I think it will complement the herbs that I'm planting in here. I'm so grateful that I was able to pick up those herbs at the festival today. What a wonderful thing to give away to people and encourage people to start growing. And I think this is going to make such a wonderful herb bed, so I'm really looking forward to planting it up. And just before I picked up the herbs, I was actually able to meet Mick Kelly. So he's actually the founder of GIY Ireland. Well, I say meet him, I didn't actually get to meet him, but I was able to sit in a couple of talks that he did in kind of like the Food Matters tent, which was kind of the theme for the day. So it was all about how to protect wildlife and pollinators, and how to use up food waste from your kitchen into your garden. So it was really cool. It was kind of like a interactive spin-off session from his 6-part TV series. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I'll link it below so you can go and have a look. But yeah, absolutely amazing team down there, great guy, some really, really useful information, particularly for small space gardeners. And I didn't realise how important dandelions were to bumblebees, which I do know now. I'm really sorry if there's loads of noise. There's a load of construction work going on where I live. I'm really sorry if it's super noisy and all you can hear is banging and clanging. So I might actually pop that up because it's got a few heads on it, but I'm not sure it's going to do much. I do think there's only those couple of flowers left, so I don't know, will it do much more than that? So in this herb section, if you can see behind my basil, I have a beautiful, beautiful selection. So I have 2 thyme plants, I have a beautiful parsley, some dill, 2 rosemary bushes, and an oregano. And I thought the oregano looked really, really cool because the leaves are so big. I didn't think oregano leaves were that big. So I'm really looking forward to planting this out. I think there's a perfect space for everything to kind of get established and bush out and create some beautiful, beautiful plants. So let's get in and start planting. And there we have it. So I've planted up the herbs and they do look a little bit sad, but I think they're just in a little bit of shock. I had a few extra. I wasn't actually able to squeeze them in because I want to give them enough room in between them so they can bush out. So I put the extras into a little container with some coriander of my own saved seed. So I potted that up. And can we just take a minute for the largest patty pan ever? I cannot even open that window because it's gotten so big, and it's literally trying to encroach on the lettuce bed here. I'd say another couple of days and that will try and root into this bed here. The herbs are all planted up into their new homes. And speaking of herbs and on the topic of cooking, I did a dedicated video to courgettes and zucchinis. So if you were looking for some inspo on what to do, I will leave a link to my amazing courgette recipes that I did in last week's video on screen. So you can check those out if you're looking for some fun new ways to use up those courgettes that you have. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye.